In the last video, we explored and delved deep into what is essentially multiplayer content in Monster Hunter 3 Midnight Solo, which was both painful and fun as it holds most if not all contents and monsters from Generation 1 and Generation 2 games. And yes, I'm a Generation 1 hunter, however, I've never played the Nintendo games, and one of them that will feature its flagship in Wild soon being Monster Hunter Tri. What's up everyone, my name is Bytrex, Twitch streamer, guitar shredder, and the wielder of bone sticks with meaty tips. If you enjoy these types of videos, then consider supporting me on Twitch or Patreon like these super awesome people listed here, as it helps me and helps keep the content going. Anyways, let's dive into Monster Hunter Tri. And after witnessing Rathalos stealing Lagiacrus' lunch, we then open up the game, and as usual it has its settings for the screen resolution, the audio volumes, the level of gore, the control settings, which has the options for more modern controls, the one where you'd have to swing your Wiimote for attacks, and the classic right analog stick controls. Now, any sane person would avoid this as much as possible as it's just madness, and I know that there will be people that prefer the right analog stick attacks, and if you're one of them, then congratulations, you're probably one of the 7 people that actually like it. We then created a character with our usual name and then started the game, which has another opening cutscene, and similarly to when we played Monster Hunter 2, link below by the way, the cutscene shows us the environment, the people, the culture, and the mega swole men with assless chaps of this village. And the villagers then informed us that this is strange because they usually don't experience more than one earthquake per day, which only means that there's something wrong and we're tasked to find out what the reason is. But don't tell them, because the real reason why there's a second earthquake is because I tried out an assless chap and then farted to see what it felt like. Zero regrets. Now, ever since I played this game, I've always questioned as to why do all the women have them wide hips? Like, god damn. We then talked to NPCs and got to the merchant, the gear merchant, which I then purchased some gear from, the blacksmith, the chief and his son, and the guild quest giver. And of course, Big Mama. We then went here and it seems to be the farm, albeit not yet ready for use. We then tried talking to a kid, which he gave us some whetstones, which is really nice, and we then went to our house and put a lamp next to our bed in case you want to see what's stabbing our face while we sleep. Like, imagine sleeping and then suddenly a fish jumps out onto you and it turns out to be a baby plesioth. Now, unlike Monster Hunter 1, the game gives a choice of having to choose between two starter weapons, which are the sword and shield and the greatsword. And me, liking things big, stop it, we then selected the greatsword and set out to the mhwilds on an expedition as we are tasked to meet up with the chief's son at the camp. And I gotta say, damn, this UI looks so clean. On the top left, you get the clock, your HP, your stamina bar, which is used for dodging, sprinting, and sometimes for some weapon moves, your sharpness indicator that depletes after melee attacks, your name along with your weapon's icon, and this thing, which we'll get into later. On the lower right corner, there's the item box, which indicates which item you have selected and ready for use that you can change by holding the L button and shifting left and right with the Y and the A button. Now for the greatsword attacks, you got the classic heavy slash done by pressing the X button that you can charge and therefore dealing more damage by holding said button down. The sideways slash done by pressing the A button, and the guard that's done by holding the R button. And in addition to those moves, you also have an uppercut slash done by pressing the X and the A button at the same time. However, I gotta say that unlike the previous titles before this game, the uppercut attack isn't as responsive, as I usually would do an endless combo by doing the sideways slashes followed by the uppercuts and repeat it endlessly. Now, one more thing I got to address is the fact that when you do an attack and dodge afterwards, the camera then pans sideways while focusing on the direction that your last attack landed. Now, I'm not sure if folks are okay with this, especially if they started with this game or 3 Ultimate, but as someone who has played the previous games, which didn't have this function, I find it to be a bit strange. However, that's just me, and until today, I still haven't gotten used to it. Because I have the Generation 1 boomer brain where everything that takes at least 30 minutes or longer is actually harder. That was sarcasm. As for the controls, a reminder that I'm using the Wii Classic controls. So the left analog stick is your movement, the right analog stick and your D-pad is your camera movement. Tapping the L button resets your camera position, and holding it allows you to switch items. Now for the action button functions, you'll have to keep in mind that you'll have different functions depending on whether your weapon is sheathed or not. So if your weapon is sheathed, then B is for crouching when you're not moving and dodge rolling when you are. Y is for using the selected item, A is for interaction, and X is for drawing your weapon out, while the R, while holding, is for sprinting. And when your weapon is drawn out, then the A is for your light attacks, B for dodge rolling, X for heavy attacks, and Y for sheathing your weapon, while the R is using your weapon's special attack. And while we were on our way to the camp, we then murdered an entire family of Aptonauts, like how Sharptooth murdered Littlefoot's mom and carved their dead bodies for raw meat. And after we got to the camp, we then gave the chief's son our meat. Stop it. We then got back to the village and it seems like the chief is paying for his son acquiring our meat. Guess it's my life now, huh? I then talked to the chief's son and he informs us that there are requests, which is essentially an off-quest, fetch quest system. Damn, what a mouthful that was. Which is very similar to what Monster Hunter 2 has. And for this particular request, our friend here is requesting us to get some resource points, which he'll then use to set the camp back up. And also reward us a barbecue spit for giving him our meat. We then went to the farm, pet Poogie for good luck, bought us a hammer, and then went back to the mhwilds. Now for the hammer's moveset, there isn't one. All you have to do is just look at the monster and they'll get stunned. Still here? Good. You got the X button that does a heavy swing, which can lead to the golf swing combo, the A button that does a light swing, which can also lead to the golf swing combo, and the charge, which is done by holding the R button. Now, there are a few different attacks for the charge attack, which is the R button. One being the classic charge slam, which is done after fully charging and releasing while standing still, and the spinning bludgeon that is done after fully charging and releasing while moving. And of course, you got the uppercut that is done by releasing the R button after a soft charge. So to summarize, if you want to do uppercuts, don't go as hard, and if you want to do a slam or spin like a Beyblade, then just be as hard as you can. I'm talking about the charging. Now, in order to get resource points, you can get them by slaying monsters no matter the size in the mhwilds expedition, and the larger the monster, the more points you'll be getting. And in addition to that, if you're lucky enough to get account items, whether it will be an egg, fossils, or whatever, you can also have those grant you points as well. And once you've gotten back from the woods, you can then talk to the chief's son and then report him the lists of creatures you've slain and convert some of the items that you receive into resource points. Now, this system is alright for a game this old, as it does show that the devs were seeking for something new to add to the franchise. Now, do I like it? I'm neutral at best. Now, I usually don't have issues finding specific items for fetch quests, as it's been a usual thing for RPGs, and the same goes for stocking up items as well. However, I will say that later in this game, there will be more fetch quests that requires, in my opinion, a lot of points in order to complete. However, I will say that I won't be doing those requests as much, as the goal is to beat Lagiacrus. However, by this time, you might have noticed that my maximum stamina has decreased. That's because whenever you do a quest or an expedition, your stamina decreases in about every 15 minutes. So how do you increase it then? Well, one of them is by eating cooked meats. So remember those aptenods I've slain? Yes, you get to carve raw meat from them, which you could use to cook. Now, whenever you cook a piece of meat, there will be a song playing, which is in a way a little mini game in itself. Because if you time the cooking too early, you get rare steaks. If too late, you get burnt meat. And if you time it just right, you will get well done steak.
So tasty!
If you try to eat rare steaks, you get 25 more stamina. And when you try to eat burnt steak, it reduces your stamina by 25. And consuming well done steaks will give you 50 more stamina. And I know, no one actually eats well done steaks. I eat them raw. And I'm saying I'm gonna go to the farm and bite the cow as it's still walking. We then return to the village, report the smashing of raptors to the village chief's son, which rewards us some spoils and resource points, which is then used to turn in the requests. Then another request comes and is from the smithy himself, which requires us to get 1 iron ore, and is kind enough to provide us 1 pickaxe for it as well. I then pet Poogie for good luck again and went to Area 4 in the expedition to grab some iron ore. And after returning with the iron ore and turned it in, the forge is now in business. Now, one thing you may have noticed in this damn cave is that it's too dark. Why? Because this game has a torch system, which I never used. We then talked to all the NPCs, and it seems that the farm is now also back in business. Now, the system in this farm is unlike the ones you get in Free Midnight, because in this game you will have a feline that will do the farming for you, and you'd have to choose whatever plantable item you own for the farmer to farm in order for them to farm it. I said farm 3 times in that whole sentence. You'd also have to have sufficient points, and do keep in mind that different items cost different amounts of points, so make sure you spend them wisely. And in addition to that, you could also set the farmers to farm the selected item for a number of cycles, which also costs more points the more cycles you add. And you can also add fertilizers to have better results. And if you think this is familiar to you, that's because Monster Hunter World had a similar system to this. I then went out to the farm, and it seems like there's another request, and it is having us grab some meat from the mhwilds. We then went back out to the desert islands, got to area 10, jumped into the water, which initiates the water combat. Now, the water combat is similar in comparison to your weapons combo on land. However, what I do not like is the fact that charging the hammer makes you move even slower than when you're not. Another factor is that the camera is now more free-forming, but despite being underwater, the camera seems to fight bite you when you face downwards when near the top. Now I understand that there are some people that like this kind of combat, but I really believe that it depends on the weapon that you're using. And as for me, a hammer player, this isn't for me. Another thing that I should tell you is that while it does seem like our hunter is built different and therefore can last almost forever, is actually not. Because remember this gauge? Yeah, it is our oxygen meter, and you better watch out because once it runs out, you'll start taking damage and eventually cart. Now there are ways to get more oxygen, and that is by either using the oxygen supplies to refill your gauge, swimming up to the surface levels, or finding bubbles underwater. We then kept swimming to Area 11, and it seems like these fishes are our targets. We then slay them, carve their guts, return to the village, and return the quest in, which then has some NPCs give us rewards as those fishes' guts are to be our dinner. And after turning that request in, the guild quest then opens up, allowing us to do our usual hunting quests as we did before.
Woo! Yeah!
We then did the usual fetch quest, like the one that has us grab 5 unique mushrooms, one quest that has us grab 2 Kelby horns, and the mandatory fishing quest that has us get 3 gold fishes, which of course didn't work as intended, so I had to grab the appropriate baits to specifically get the gold fishes.
Yes, 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 come to daddy, bite, and bite, and bite, and bite, and come to daddy. There we go. Alright.
And after clearing each of those quests, we then grab our next one, which has us grab 3 monster guts. I thought we had those for dinner already. We then embarked onto the quest and then got to Area 11. And like the egg quest with Rathalos or the Popoton quest with Tigrex, this one is where Lagiacrus shows up. Now, I'm not sure what the speed differences are between moving on land versus underwater, but damn, moving underwater, even when holding the R button, does not feel fast. But that's just me. By the way, I did get the guts and then turned those in. And a new thing just unlocked, and it's called the fishery. So if you're wondering what this is, then let me explain. It's basically a pseudo treasure hunter system, which means that you get to have people fetch stuff for you at the cost of some points. But then, the stuff that you have them fetch for you can also be used to convert 2 points, so keep that in mind. We then accepted a quest that has us slay 5 Jagias, which went quickly, and also unlocks the urgent quest. I knew those female raptors couldn't handle my hammer. Don't clip that. And this quest has us slay 6 Ludroths, which also went quickly. We then returned to our village, and it seems that we have unlocked a new function, and it is the Argosy. Now the function in this is a bit different from the ones in the newer games, as you'd have to trade. Yes, trade. And how it works is that the items that you can use to trade him has a specific amount that will be added to your offer gauge, and that goes the same for the items you selected that you wanted from the Argosy. So in order to trade for the item that you wanted, you would need to have your offer gauge to be equal, if not higher, than the captain's gauge. However, since I don't need any of the items he has to offer, I then closed this menu and moved on to the next rank, which has a quest that has us slay 12 Alterots, which are these bugs, one that has us get 3 more monster guts from these sand swordfishes, which made me question as to why there's so many quests that has us get monster guts for dinner. Like, can we just get the monster's meat? Wait, no, not that one. And then another quest that has us hunt down a great Jaggy, which then makes this finally our first large monster quest. Now its moveset consists of biting forward, biting sideways, hip checks, the tail tackles, and it even can summon more of its minions. However, considering that I've faced this monster a million times before, in addition to other large raptors in the previous games, this fight didn't go for long. And since there aren't any new quests, I then embarked on another one that has us capture the same monster, which I failed because of too much damage. Gen 1 Hunter, by the way. But hey, second time's a charm. Which then unlocks another urgent quest, and this one has us protect a Chacha. So I embarked onto this quest and saw a little thing on the minimap, so I naturally went to the signaled area. And it seems like we found a friend. So I helped him, get rid of all the monsters, which has him gained our trust, and he then joins us as a comrade. You see, normally you'd have the ability to hire feline comrades, which are later known as palicos, to aid you during your adventures. However, for this game and then later in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, it seems like we'll be having our friend Chacha pretty much fill that role. Now, am I sad for not being able to bring Jet into the game? Probably, but we'll see him again in the future. Now, they already have built-in buffing skills, similar to the Palicos flutes in previous games, which is cool, as well as main attacking abilities that you can switch to a good selection that will also expand as you progress through the game. We then bring Chacha along, then progress through by doing a quest that has us slay 6 Rentaplaws, one that has us slay 12 bananas, and one that has us slay another 6 Ludroths, which you'd likely have to do underwater, which is horrible for Hammer. And this leads us to a quest that has us hunt a Kurupeko. This one is quite the nasty monster. Now, if you haven't seen our Portable Third video, link below, let me tell you that this monster isn't just a chicken that claps fire and spit. Oh my god, my Filipino accent is coming out. That spits the mucus that gives you the pens down. But it is also a parrot. Why? Because it mimics the roars of other monsters that are in the same quest, in which this case is a great Jaggy, in order to summon it, which I find annoying, because in addition to having a large raptor chasing your bum, we are also dealing with the smaller raptors. Like, Jesus, you could at least buy me dinner first before gangbanging me. Anyways, we didn't spend about 15-20 minutes whacking this monster while others are chasing our bum, but we ended up beating it anyways. And I did maybe a little too much resource farming. Why? With all honesty, I don't even know anymore. But hey, we got supersized dung. No, that's some good shit. Oh, come on, that was a good one. I didn't do the quest that has us capture a Kurupeko.
Oh, you're just chilling with it? No, where you going? Where you going? Where you go? No, you're not gonna do this to me. No. Okay, he's just angry. All right. He's gonna come here. All right, you're gonna come here, right? You're gonna come here, right? Don't fly away, please. Okay, thank you. All right, he's not flying away. All right, it's fine. I thought he was gonna fly away. No, you're not gonna go to my trap. No. You're not gonna go. I have only one trap. Could you please stop trying to kill me? You're not the main target here. Not everything is about you, Great Baggy. Jesus Christ.
And after that incident, we then slowly transform into Sigmire from Dark Souls, and embark on the quest that has us hunt down a royal Ludroth, which has a moveset that consists of bitch slaps, bites, roly-polies, tackles, rolling hip checks, and also spinning water balls that grant you water blight, which affects your stamina recovery. And it can do that while standing in place or when it's running around. Now, I've fought this monster numerous times, especially in Portable 3rd, so my muscle memory is still there. However, fighting this thing underwater with a hammer has got to be somewhat a new experience. But, like I said, with hammer underwater, it's horrible. Now, I know that people will tell me to try using other weapons, builds, and so on, but I'm a hammer main. Yes, you may see me dabble into other weapons like greatsword, switch axe, and so on, but in the end, I like to commit to my playstyle simply because I love the weapon that much. And stubbornness. Mostly stubbornness. And after smacking this monster for about 10 minutes, we finally beat it. And oh look, a talisman, which is basically a necklace that gives you some skill points. But for now, it's not really that useful. And after all of that, we are then tasked to hunt down a Baroth. Which has moves that include yelling at you, wiggling the mud off, slamming its head, rushing toward you, followed by a small tail whip, and bite slam. Now, what it also has is a small layer of mud armor that it gains by rolling around the mud. And once you get hit, and when you do get hit by the mud balls that comes out of its body, you will get mudded on, basically restricting your movement, preventing you from attacking or using items, and it's essentially the mud version of the snowman effect. Now, since we're wearing the Renaplas armor, it basically grants us immunity to that effect, which is a good thing. However, getting hit by it still applies the water blight, which I found to be a bit annoying. But it's fine because after 10 minutes, I then trapped the Baroth. And, oh, Chacha grabs loot for us too. That's pretty cool. We then embarked onto our next quest, and this one has us deal with some fishy business. Also known as the Gobul. Now, its moveset includes a tackle, a roly-poly, the big suck, the biting, which it can do also from underground, and the flashbangs, as well as a tail slap that paralyzes you. And I spent more than half an hour on this encounter. Why? Because I ran out of sharpening tools and forgot to bring extras. Gen 1 Hunter, by the way, so I restarted the entire fight and spent almost just as much time as the previous run to finally beat it. And the next one, it's just a Geodrome. Wait, no, wait, hold on, what is it? Oh, a Great Baggy. Now, its moveset is pretty much the same as the Great Jaggy, but the only difference is that it can spit out projectiles that can make you fall asleep. And just like the quest after this, which has to slay 20 baggies, they were all a snooze. Please laugh. I then chose to eat a huge chicken with a little fizzy drink to wash it down for the increased HP and attack power. Why? Because this next quest is kind of a hassle, but in a fun way, because it has us fight a Great Jaggy and a Baroth with a surprise chicken guest. And this went on for about 20 minutes. Still beat them though, but goddamn bird, let me carve this damn dinosaur. We then ate for the same buffs because we'll be facing the Lagiacrus for the first time. And its moveset includes murdering your eardrums, rushing toward you, tail slaps, bite tackles, the serpentine rush, the body slams, and spitting out lightning balls. However, this quest only lasted for about 5 minutes. Why? Because it happens to be a repel quest. which I found a little disappointing, really. And upon resuming the game, we were then tasked to hunt down a Rathian, which has a moveset that consists of excessive decibel abuse, rushing towards you, biting, shooting fireballs either once or thrice, tail swipes, backflips that can poison you, and it can pin you down like the wyvern mommy she is. Which you can get out by wiggling your stick fast enough or throwing a dumb bomb at her face, or until she gets bored of you. However, Rathians are quite easy for me simply because I've been fighting them since the first generation games, so even though this may be some people's walls, isn't the case for me. But I'd much rather you have Rathian to be your first wall than Monster Hunter 1's Gypsyros, or Cephadrome, or Plesioth. Looking at you, Ebisu. I then farmed for Barat's armor set while slowly upgrading my bone hammer because we are informed by the quest giver that we have an urgent quest, and that will have us fight the Lagiacrus. Now in this version of this fight, you'll mostly be fighting it underwater, and it does have a slightly different moveset when underwater, which includes the under tail slap, the bitch slaps, the hip checks, and the Blanca move. Now, fighting this thing on land with a hammer to me felt too easy, and underwater, too tedious. Not hard, but too tedious. Now I honestly believe that if we were to have some kind of latching ability, like say a clutch claw from Iceborne, or maybe we can use the harpoon like in Attack on Titans, then it can definitely help the combat feel a bit better, especially for melee, because this fight took us almost half an hour. Not because it's hard, but because it took that much time chasing a water creature in its own damn territory. And with all honesty, I knew this fight wasn't gonna cut it for me, so I brought traps, which I then used to end this fight. And for those who are wondering, traps can be used to keep a monster still for a brief moment, or to capture them. And in this case, if you want to capture a monster, you have to make sure that they're weak enough or low enough in HP, which then you can trap it and then use tranquilizers to fully capture them. Now it may seem like I'm disappointed, that's because I kind of am. I have no issues gathering items underwater, but as soon as I had to whip out my hammer, that's when it all goes downhill. The fights feel too slow, almost like it wasn't as well thought out. And I get that if I were to play this game during this era, it could be awesome and new. However, like how the 4th generation games including jumping lunge attacks should have been a thing since Monster Hunter 1 or at least the 2nd generation games, I really thought that there should be some systems that should have been in this game already. Like God Eater, which came out under a year later, had a lock-on targeting system, and I really think that even having that during underwater combat can definitely help a lot. Now I won't be continuing this game as I said that my goal is to beat the flagship, which is Lagiacrus. However, as of this recording, I have already began my Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate gameplay, and we are going to start our true playthrough of that game after I've beaten Lagiacrus in there. And I know that it may sound a bit strange for some of you guys, however, do keep in mind that 3 Ultimate is basically an expanded and more updated version of Monster Hunter Tri in addition to more content. So more or less, I'm playing to a degree the same game twice. However, I cannot say that my experience going through this game isn't fun, because it was, as I was able to experience this first playthrough of mine with my chat on my Twitch streams. And remember, I'm speaking as someone that has been playing Monster Hunter games since 2005. And with all honesty, even if someone were to be curious about playing the old Monster Hunter games, whether they started with with the new ones or just want to start with the old games, I would usually suggest 3rd generation games like this one, 3 Ultimate, or even Portable 3rd, and in most cases, they tend to be playing 4th generation and generation games in addition to the newer ones. And the reason why I tend to suggest Generation 3 games is because I believe that it is the most refined of essentially the prototype of Monster Hunter games. However, I am very curious to see how they're gonna bring Lagiacrus into Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, I know that the game is currently having some issues, especially in terms of performance, and believe me, my CPU is running at 100% whenever I'm playing that game, which is not right, and they really should try to fix it, because right now, the game is not looking too good. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more. And big thanks again to my supporters on Twitch and Patreon, as they help me and help keep the content going. And if you want to be a part of it, then you can do so for as little as $1 a month. Links to Twitch, Patreon, Twitter, and more in the description below. Last but not least, hope you all have a wonderful day and happy hunting.